you learn. The agenda for today, again, is quite informal. We're going to reflect over the past 20 years. Firstly, we'll hear from Nick Ictu, or the Ictu Assistant General Secretary, Owen Reilly, and then we'll reflect on 20 years of empowering the workforce. The main section of conference we're going to hear from, and I think we've heard from some of them already, are very noisy project managers. And we're going to look back at past successes and also our project plans for the future. When the main section's done, time permitting, we will try and take some questions and answers. If I could ask that you put the questions into chat, and we will try and get through as many as possible. If we can't do them at this within the conference, I'll reply to you, or someone will reply to you at a later time. So let's get things started, and I'm very happy to introduce the ICTU General Secretary, Owen Reilly, to open our conference today. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'm delighted that Julie's given me a promotion. General Secretary, that's great.
I did.
I'm not too sure that Patricia King would be too happy to hear that, but anyway, and I know Tony's recording it, but anyway, no, thanks, Julie. Thanks for your confidence. I'm delighted to be here, and it's lovely to see so many of you, albeit in this format that we've unfortunately got too used to over the last 2 years. I think the technology is great, and it's probably going to be with us for some time, but I think we all hope, I'm sure, that we can get back together face to face sooner rather than later, because by our very nature, trade unions were human-centered, human interaction. We're people organizations, and I think we always do better engaging face to face. But I am delighted to be here this morning, and the fact that it is 20 years, I think, is a real credit to so many people that have gone before all of us involved in this call, but many of you in this call as well, who've played a huge role in the last number of years. I think in many ways, one of the things that strikes me about Union Learn, particularly having spent most of my trade union career in the Republic of Ireland, where we don't have anything like this, where this is quite unique, is that it works so well because it is a true partnership. It's a true partnership between the state through the DFE, the employers, and I'm delighted that Julie mentioned Irwins, because Irwins are a key backer and a key participant in Union Learn. The educational providers, and I know a number of them are with us here today, CERC and Global Skills and other organizations. I think that's really important. But also the various different levels of the trade union movement, the union learning reps, who are fundamental, that fundamental link between the union head office and the workplace. And also, of course, the project managers, without whom Julie wouldn't be able to do the wonderful work that she's done in the last number of years since she's taken on the role. So I think one of the reasons why it's been such a success is that partnership. And I think that partnership has got stronger and stronger over the years, because if you think about it, 20 years on, we've had a lot of change. There's been a lot of shocks to the system over those 20 years. If you think about it, way back in 2008, 2009, we had the kind of global financial crisis. But yet the department stuck to their guns, and the minister of the time stuck to their guns to continue with Union Learn. We've had, obviously, unfortunately, dormant for long periods of time as well, and again, Union Learn still continued, and I think that's really important. We obviously had COVID-19 as well, so a range of shocks to the system, and I think it's a testament to the DFE as well in Northern Ireland and the local politicians, and we're always very quick to criticize them, and rightly so, but it struck me at the time when Union Learn was being pulled by the Tory government in England. The Scottish government and the Welsh government were very clear. We see Union Learn as an important part of our overall skills offering, and we want that partnership between the state, the employers, and the unions to continue. And what we found particularly interesting in a Northern Ireland context was Julie and a number of colleagues would have engaged and lobbied with every MP, every Lord and every Baroness, if I've got their terms correct, but every member of Parliament in the House of Commons from Northern Ireland, whether they were unionist, nationalist or other, whether they were urban, whether they were rural, to a man and woman, they were all 100% behind the Union Learn program and the Union Learn process. So I think we are well set up for the next decade and beyond to continue with this really important partnership. And I haven't met Maura and her colleague Louise yet, but I do look forward to meeting them, and I'm delighted.
Owen, you're on mute.
So much for the technology and so much for my use of it. Apologies. I was just saying, I don't know if you got that bit. I'm delighted that Maura and Louise are here. I haven't met them yet. I do look forward to meeting them at some stage in the future, but they and their predecessors have been hugely supportive of the programme and of the work that's going on. I think there's an incredibly good, progressive, tight working relationship between Julie and the department, and long may that continue. When I was talking to Julie about this conference, we were looking at the projects and the various phases of it over the years. And I was really struck by the numbers of people that have been through the Union Learn programme. In 20 years, the programme has had over 45 people go through 10,500 of those workers' essential skills, numeracy, literacy, IT. Crucially important. Many of those people would have left school early to go into the workforce, and this was probably their first interaction with further learning and lifelong learning. And indeed, many of those people would have gone on, and a further 35,000 people have completed upskilling qualifications and a range of industry recognized qualifications and recognized by CPD as well, which can only help them in their career and in their job. And when you think about those figures, 45,000 people, the ICTU organised 200,000 workers in Northern Ireland. That's 1 in 4. 45,000 is larger than the largest union organised in Northern Ireland. I think that's a huge success when you look at it like that. And I think it shows that this project and this programme and the work that all of you have collaborated on in a true partnership, a true sense of the word of partnership, have made a difference to people's lives. And we know, and I've seen it in the 5 years I've been here, when we had the face-to-face Union Learn conferences and when we had the various awards, and crucially when we heard the personal stories behind those awards, quite frankly, they're inspiring. And I know they're the kind of things that inspire Julie, inspire the project managers that participate in unions and the union learning reps to continue to do the important work that they do. And I think that's crucial. And again, given what we've been going through in the last number of years, and given the constant debate about the Northern Ireland economy and what should it look like and where is it at, and it's a huge challenge. I mean, a 5-party and voluntary coalition where people would probably rather not share power, unfortunately, and have different ideologies, to come up with a programme of government and to look at the day-to-day governance issues is a challenge, and it creates a particular challenge for the civil service. And I think we have a very fine civil service in Northern Ireland, particularly given that they have to deal with that unique, bespoke set of circumstances. But when you talk about skills, and there's a lot of debate about skills, and there's a lot of talk about skills. And I know Diane Dodds and more recently Gordon Lyons as the minister had this 10x strategy. I should say, this does concern me. You know, we do see strategies from various ministers in the Department for the Economy, and many of them are strategies where they engage exclusively with employers and they don't engage with the trade union movement. And I think that's a mistake. I think it's an error, because I think if you're serious about addressing the challenges in the labour market, you need to talk to both sides of the labour market. You need to engage with those who represent the interests of workers. And of course, you need to engage with those who represent the interests of employers. And if I had one concern about the political direction of the Department for the Economy, quite frankly, it is that issue that there isn't enough engagement at ministerial level, at political level, with the trade union movement. And I think that is something that needs to change. But when you look at skills strategies, and I see a colleague made the point in the chat that was launched yesterday, very important. But we got to look at what we already have. And I actually think the Union Learning Project is a ready-made instrument and lever that the department can use in increasing the skills capacity and the skills competency. But I think one of the things we do need to do in Northern Ireland, we need to have a debate about this. We need to decide, what do we want our economy to look like? And then we need to develop the skills strategy to match it. And sometimes I think we don't join these things up. Not everybody can be a primary school teacher. Nuala, don't take that the wrong way. Of course, we need good quality primary school teachers, but I think you know the point I'm trying to make. We produce sometimes too many people in certain professions in certain parts of the economy, where the need in certain other areas is huge and it is great. I was speaking to Stephen Kelly of manufacturing Northern Ireland yesterday, and he tells me there are about 15,000 to 20,000 decent manufacturing jobs around the Mid-Ulster area and in kind of smaller towns dotted across Northern Ireland, in that small kind of manufacturing area where they can't get labor. And he's saying decently costed labor. He's not talking about the kind of the low cost labor model. He's talking about decent jobs with decent wages. So I do think we need to consider, what is it we want Northern Ireland to be good at it? What do we want the Northern Ireland economy to succeed at? And then plan our resourcing accordingly, rather than what I think I have done over the years, which is scatter the sweets around here, there, and wherever, and we're a bit of everything and a bit of nothing. So I'll conclude at that with just a few observations and perhaps some rambles towards the end. But I do want to pay tribute to everybody on this call who has made this project a success, and those who went before you in your unions, in your organizations, and in the department. We, I think, have huge commitment from the leadership of the trade unions that are participating in Union Learn, both the leadership in Northern Ireland and in Britain. And I think that's a credit to those unions. They take it seriously. Good, durable relationships have been built up. There are very, very extensive networks. And I think the last 20 years have been a huge success. It's a credit to so many people. And I want to thank Julie in particular for the work that she does. We have huge faith in the work that Julie is doing with this project. She's supported by a number of people, but she is, from the Ictu point of view, the key person involved in this, and she's done a great job. And I want to wish every one of you every success in the future. We really look forward to deepening and strengthening the already very good partnership we have with the DFE in this area. And I look forward to the next 10 and 20 years of the Union Learn Fund and beyond. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Owen, and I don't mind giving you that promotion. Patricia King will be after me later. No, excellent, Owen. That was really, really good. And thanks for your kind words. And I have to say too that the project wouldn't exist without the hard work of our project managers, our ULRs, and all our partners. We all work together to make this a really successful project. And I think now is the time where let's celebrate 20 years. So I've prepared just something this morning to go through, to have a little look back on the past 20 years and what we have achieved. So I'm very happy to share this with you. So in our early years, the trade union movement has always had a long and proud history of bringing education to working people. Back in 1997, with the election of a Labour government, strategic partnerships between government and the trade union movement were forged. This saw the establishment of the Union Learning Funds in England, Scotland, and Wales, and the beginnings of the development of the Union Learning Representative role. In 1999, the government in Northern Ireland published Lifelong Learning, a New Learning Culture for All. This document acknowledged the vital roles of trade unions in lifelong learning agenda in Northern Ireland. Subsequently, the then Department for Employment and Learning funded Ictu to develop a programme of work around lifelong learning. This led to the creation of the Union Learning Fund in 2002. The department committed funding for a 3-year period and invited unions to apply. The first round seen the 6 unions apply, which included USTA, Amicus, Unison, CWU, UCAT, and the ATGWU. I'm very pleased to see Paul Donaghy on the call here, as he was one of the first project managers from Unison. The skills and qualification focus of the first 6 union-led projects was essential skills in numeracy, literacy, and ICT. These were promoted to the workforces which all these projects had representation in. For 20 years, essential skills has been a key priority for the vast majority of projects. With the help of the ULF, unions have run innovative and engaging projects which have enabled, as Owen said, 10,500 workers to gain their first qualifications in English, Maths and IT. We have helped to build social cohesion by enabling migrant workers to study ESOL. But that's not all that we do by any means. We supported workers through the apprenticeship programs and other upskilling or industry recognised qualifications. We have helped staff progress through continuous professional development programs. In fact, over 35,000 have completed other upskilling qualifications, industry recognised qualifications or CPD. Many of these workers were engaging in learning for the first time since leaving formal education. We have supported union learners who have continued their studies into higher education. We have supported workers in their times of need when they faced redundancy, helping them to write a CV, improve their interview skills, job search, and access learning opportunities to ensure that they are job ready. We have taken down the barriers to learning often faced by women, migrant workers, and disabled workers. We have offered information, advice and guidance to thousands more. The projects have a proven track record of engaging workers and employers into the reskilling and upskilling agenda. Promoting learning and lifelong learning is at the core and heart of what we do. Each year, the Union Learning Fund has continued to grow. It has helped improve the skills of workers in companies large and small in both the private and public sectors and across all areas of our economy. Multiply this by 10 years and that the ULF has been in business, and you begin to get a sense of what the enormous impact of the fund has been and has made to people. So how have we achieved this? Central to our success over the past 2 decades has been a network of union learning reps who have been trained to provide support, encouragement, advice, guidance to many workers that wanted to restart their learning journeys. ULRs have demonstrated that their greatest strength is their ability to engage and support learners. Workers are far more open to talking to ULRs about their struggles with English, Maths or IT rather than their supervisors, managers or HR staff. Behind the ULRs is the project managers. Many of them cut their teeth in workplace learning projects as learners or ULRs themselves. Employed by their unions, they've gone on to share and develop their knowledge and expertise, running successful and innovative workplace learning projects. Delivering the learning has been our tutors from a wide range of learning providers, including all of Northern Ireland's FE colleges, the Open University, and before its closure in Belfast, the Workers' Education Authority, otherwise known as the WEA. We have worked with many other organisations who have helped to deliver training and to support union learners, such as the Skills Network, the Reading Rooms, Global Horizon Skills, Utopian Learning, Quick Reads, the Career Service, Libraries NI, the Construction Industry Training Board, the National Numeracy Challenge. The list is endless, and I apologise if I've missed anyone out. Where courses have been delivered in workplaces, they are often run in dedicated learning centres, usually kitted out by partnerships with employers, unions and the ULF. The fund has always retained cross-party support over the past 20 years, and that's for one simple reason: it works. At a Ictu conference in 2008, the then Employment and Learning Minister, Sir Reg Empey, addressed the delegates saying, "The theme for this conference, Organised to Succeed, is an apt description of what trade unions are doing to further skills. At the forefront of this is the Union Learning Fund. I congratulate our union learning reps and the unions for all they could do to encourage people back into learning. Can you do more? Whilst politicians and civil servants can do this and that, it usually is those nearer to the individuals who can influence them positively, and the unions are well placed to influence their members. They will listen to you. Another fond memory I have is of Stephen Farry. He's a great supporter of union learning. Every conference where he came to present at, he would always announce the funding was granted, and he did this without any prior warning to the civil servants in the room. There was often a gasp and everybody stood up and applauded. He praised the work of union learning reps, and at one conference he said, ULRs have helped to negotiate and broker learning opportunities which deliver real and tangible benefits to learners and business. Their success is rooted in the familiarity on the shop floor, and without them, the enormous growth in workplace learning would not have happened. Politicians, business leaders, and educational institutions have all recognised that our model of training union learning reps to engage in with all sorts of learners that other organisations cannot reach is both successful and cost effective. For a relatively modest outlay of public money, the fund has successfully achieved and sometimes exceeded targets agreed with the department. The success of the Union Learning Fund offers an important lesson for any government that wants to improve skills and education in this country. Many other initiatives have tried over the years, and they were top down, sometimes well-meaning, but not always thought through. The ULF isn't like that. Because the membership base of the trade union movement is rooted in the organisation of workplaces, we have lots of feet on the ground. Our learners are not only union members, their colleagues, their families, their friends also gain access to union learning opportunities too. The Union Learning Fund was a good idea 20 years ago that has become a success story today. Everyone who has played their part, politicians, civil servants, employers, union officers, project managers, tutors, ULRs, and above everything else, our union learners themselves should feel very proud of what we've achieved and what we will continue to achieve. Put simply, union learning works. Well, thanks everyone for bearing with me there and listening to that. Today is definitely a celebration of the work. You've heard the numbers, and we've heard from Owen today also. But now I want to hand over to the project managers, and we're going to have a wee look at the projects and celebrate some of the successes over the past 20 years, and also look at some of the project plans for the future. Now, from the agenda, unfortunately we've had a few people that aren't able to join us this morning, so I'm going to work my way through here and introduce as we as we go along. So if we Dave Flanagan, yep, Dave. Dave is from GMB or GMB Reach Out. You're very welcome, and I'll hand over to you to take it away.
Thanks very much, Julie. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm assuming somebody will say something if you can't hear me now. Yes, first of all, thanks very much, Julie, for giving us the opportunity to showcase some of the work. It's been quite interesting because this is probably the first time I've actually reflected. I don't think we've not been at the table for 20 years. We were one of the latecomers, but even in the short time that we have been at the table in relation to other unions, looking back last night, particularly over some of the employers that we've worked with, I didn't realise how impressive that list was until you take that time to reflect. So it's been a real eye-opener for me and an opportunity to look at that. I think I just wanted to get the point before I just cover a little bit of the I know I haven't got long, so I promise I won't go on. I'll do my best. Is the Union Learning Fund for us is such a responsive fund that supports members, and it allows the flexibility. And it's one of the few funds actually that puts the workers' needs first, or the individual's training requirements first. There are too many grants and funds that knock about at the moment, which often require the permission of the employer for them to engage on programs and such like. So this is a real opportunity for our reps and for our union learning reps and project workers within the ULF to actually look at individual need as well as business need to give them the best possible opportunities to move forward. And I think it's done that really well. And I think there's lots of ways we can demonstrate that. I think ourselves as a project, we do have within our project team, we have access to tutors, we have access to some great project workers, our union learning reps. We've built and shared facilities over the years. And I think that's the other thing that's been an impressive element of the Union Learning Fund, is that projects working together is very much that unified approach when we have our meetings. And I think that's really important. And I think in other areas of trade unionism, sometimes that can be absent. And regardless of any industrial challenges that may face within local authorities, within private sector organisations, project managers have always managed to come together, are prepared to share the materials, are prepared to release places on courses. And I think that's really, really important when we're trying to demonstrate the value of the lifelong learning agenda. And it allows us to work alongside. I think it's really important that lifelong learning is part of the bargaining agenda, but at the same time, it needs to run in parallel in certain situations. As a project, we have over the years we've been quite focused on redundancy programs specifically. In the last year alone, we were the first to respond in relation to support to those at the Ballymoney Care Home, for example. Within 4 days of the real issues being announced there, we worked with the council, acquired room at the town hall, and supported those workers over the next few days, and we continue to work with them well beyond their departures at those places, and we continue to support them now. Even I think all of them now have actually gone into employment, but some have sort of fallen out again and come back in, and there's still that transitioning happening, but the support is still there, and that's the key thing. There's a phone number that you can pick up on. We supported them with CVs, CPD courses that quickly gave them qualifications that were lacking before. And I think that particular case, which is why I highlight it, demonstrates the importance of engaging employers at an early stage to ensure that, God forbid, if the worst was to happen, that at least workers are prepared to transition into alternative employment. And sadly, that really wasn't the case for a good number of those particular group of workers. But thanks to the Union Learning Fund, we were able to respond swiftly. COVID brought its challenges, but it also brought us a really impressive new way of working. We had to move out the classroom, which was our only real traditional, up until the last couple of years, was our only delivery model. But now, pleased to say, we have developed online platform. We have accreditation as a project for essential skills over in Northern Ireland now. So we can respond. And in the early days, we did run a online essential skills program for a short period to give that a go. So it's created new opportunities for us. It's allowed us to develop as a project. I think as we sit here today, this year alone, we've supported over 240 people up to the end of Q3. We're on target to hit all of our targets. Apart from the negative elements, is the essential skills. We've struggled with the essential skills this time, just because of the uncertainty of being able to get people back in the classroom and the commitment from others. But that said, ICT level 2 distance learning response to redundancy targets that we set, and Yeah, so I'm conscious I probably used my 5 minutes. So, but I will just finish again on our behalf. Is a huge thank you to ICTU for your support. A thank you to the other project managers, the union learning reps, our reps across all the different organisations. And I very, very much hope that we get some positive news sooner rather than later. That allows us to continue this really important work moving forward. Unfortunately, we are in this sort of transitional period again, as we're not sure where we stand beyond April. But one thing we will guarantee is that we'll continue to support as best we can, and then hopefully get the support of the government. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. Something that you touched on, which I maybe haven't mentioned earlier, is the collaborative work between projects, which is something I'm very proud of. We don't just go into one workplace and go, oh, that workplace is GMB and that's Unite. If there's representation from two unions within one workplace, it's been great to see unions working collaboratively together, and it's been great to see all our projects working collaboratively together. That is one thing that has made, you know, if a class was struggling or we couldn't get numbers for one class, we'd put it out to all the other projects and we'd infill that way. So it has been a big success story over the past number of years, the collaborative work between unions. The next person I want to call on is Claire Caulfield from Unite the Union. Claire looks after the Unite General, we'll call it project, and also this year has looked after the Caterpillar Redundancy Response Project. So Claire, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much, Julie. Hello everyone, good morning. Claire Caulfield, and I actually would suspect I am the longest running project manager in Union Learn in Northern Ireland, 16 years. I've been doing this.
It's showing on you, Claire, all right.
Thanks, Kieran, thanks. So yes, for the 16 years, and there's been serious changes and also nothing changes. So it's a bag of 2 different groceries there. So it's over the 16 years, I've tried to go back there and get, but due to still working from home and most things being archived, I have worked out with between 16 to 20,000 learners has went through in that 16 years. We did start off primarily with essential skills, but that actually very quickly manifested itself in that just wasn't quite enough. Engaging, working with, we were in the workplaces, everything was always in the workplaces, and at that time, yes, some of it worked well. However, we had been saying even from that far back in 2006 that we needed to be more flexible, we needed colleges to be more flexible, we needed lots of different things, and it wasn't until we had COVID that a lot of those things that we've been crying out for over a decade has actually came to fruition, and it's shown that flexibility, online learning, being able to access people easier in their homes, so they're not going out in an even time to go and do a course, has all proven and come to fruition, and we've seen the serious learner numbers we've had in the last couple of years. However, Unite, I start off as Amicus. Unite crosses, now we are Unite, and it crosses every sector nearly. And we do have such a reach. And what I really appreciate in the Northern Ireland Union Learn is I watch my colleagues over in England, Scotland and Wales and see the serious amount of funding that they get. And I'm always very, very jealous. However, they're very insular in how they work in England, Scotland and Wales. Through necessity and our PER funding in Northern Ireland and the lack of change in the funding in Northern Ireland, we actually work very well as a team, all the unions together, and we pull our resources and we do best practice, which I do appreciate. A lot of more funding would actually help that even more. We have the Unite program has really changed over the years, and we seem to have become the the programme of redundancy response. And in fact, our redundancy response in Northern Ireland through Unite was so good and so effective that Unite throughout the rest of the UK adopted our best practice. And unfortunately, that came through necessity and what I had to do within Northern Ireland and be responsive to those redundancies through the economic downturn and then just the change in, and as Owen had said earlier there, just the change in need in Northern Ireland, what's the skills that are required and what we are still being expected to teach, or they just don't match. I had the privilege of being able to represent the trade union sector and sat on the skills strategy advisory group with the department and all the heads of industry throughout Northern Ireland. I learned personally, I learned a great deal, but I also saw that how huge the disconnect that Owen mentioned there still is between what the employers are saying they need and what the government are saying we have to teach and what skills we have to provide. There's a huge disconnect there, and hopefully with this skills strategy now being released, that we will see the difference in that and that marrying up a bit better. We see that quite considerably because we are the boots on the ground. We are working at community level. We are working with the unemployed. We are working with the low skilled and the very low paid. So we actually see that and we can see how that could be changed. Now, I do believe, and I have banged on so often, and in the skills strategy advisory group, if the Union Learning Fund was invested properly by the government, what we could achieve is unparalleled. No one else in the whole of Northern Ireland has the reach to the people who actually need to be the bums and seats as the trade union sector. We are terribly overlooked in so many of those things, but hopefully now, hopefully with having the seat on that skills strategy advisory team, that has been recognised, and hopefully going forward that could be changed. There's a few very, very proud things that have happened in the 16 years that I've been doing this. One happened back in 2009, and that was we received an All-Ireland Training Award for the project we did throughout the whole of the province with Northern Ireland Water. And what made us very proud in that when we went to Dublin to receive the award was that it was actually Northern Ireland Water that put us forward for the actual award. Now, trade unions and employers don't often look at each other and exalt each other in that type of way very often, but it's just showed the professionalism and the connection that we can have, because we don't go in telling a company that they need to do something that they find detrimental. Everything we have is incredibly popular and positive and changing, and the workforce and those employers, especially the team we worked with in Northern Ireland Water, they saw that straight away. They absolutely saw that, and that's what made the project so incredibly successful. So in conclusion, we have shown, and 20 years of the Union Learning Fund has shown how effective we can be. I have said in the last 16 years that, and I still refer to it, and my own union is, they have to, take some responsibility for this too. We are the best kept secret in the country. And why is beyond me, because we are incredibly effective. We can make things happen on a penny. We have proven that. We can make things happen on the turn of a heel because it's been required. We've had to react to something that's happened in the workforce, the workplace, or our economy in general. And we have always come up with the positivity and the way to make that happen, and we have done it on a shoestring. So if there's the ears that are listening to us today from the department and seeing what we have done and actually really look and understand what we have done, because I do believe that an awful lot of the ignorance comes from lack of knowledge. So look at what we've done, what we've achieved, listen to what we are saying, what can be done, and please invest in us, because everything we do is positive. It goes towards your targets, it goes towards ticking your boxes, and we can do it. So thank you very much to Nick Ictu. I've probably been a pain in your side now for the guts of 16 years. And God knows I'll likely be sitting here in another 16 years telling you the exact same thing, but let's hope not. Let's hope not. So thank you very much, conference, and I look forward to hearing what the rest of you have to say here.
Thanks, Claire. Never a better woman to ask for more money. Claire, one thing I will touch on is your representation on the Skills Strategy Advisory Board. That has been such a benefit to us. It's also made sure that our voice has been heard and the trade union voice has been heard. And going forward, we will have a seat around that table. It's so important that government listens to us and that we are involved in every part of the way of developing a skills strategy and developing the work on the ground moving forward. The next project manager, who's very patiently waited as well, is Kieran Brawley. Now, Kieran was originally UCAT, and following the merger with Unite the Union, he is now, I fondly call him Unite Construction. So over to you, Kieran.
Thank you very much, Julie, and good morning, colleagues. How are you all doing? The name of the construction project is Building and Sustaining Learning in Construction. And just to start with, and I know I only have 5 minutes, I just wanted to read out the first line of our project proposal because I am aware that the department is here and I'm glad that they're here. We wrote that the purpose of the programme for government is to tackle disadvantage and to drive economic growth. And that came from the Department of Economy's Economy 2030 Industrial Strategy for Northern Ireland. And I wrote that our project, and I know all our projects have the same vision and purpose. It's coming up to 14 years now since I began my journey as a project manager. And in that time, in the construction sector, we've delivered almost 5,000 vocational qualifications. All of the qualifications that we deliver are mapped to the National Qualification Framework, and they're all accredited. Construction sector, I suppose, is unlike others because there's a lot of bogus self-employment. There's 99% of the firms in the construction sector are micro firms. It's difficult for construction workers to time off the job. It's a very transient workforce. They get a job here and a job there. So it's particularly difficult to organize training. And in order to do that, we need an effective partnership network. And we have a very effective partnership network. This project partners with the Construction Employers Federation and the Federation of Master Builders. I am a board member of the Construction Industry Training Board, which gives me an insight into skills and skills strategies. And I'm also a member of the Joint Council for the Civil and Engineering Industry Board as well. The important point, and I think the important point from our point of view, is to say to the department, Owen talked about this partnership of state employers, unions. I would add also both FE and training providers. And I think the department needs to recognise more that we subscribe specifically to their own strategic objectives. And when I looked at the business plan for the department in 21-22, they talked about things like innovation, which we do day and daily. They talk about the skills agenda contribution, and our contribution is enormous to the skills agenda. They talk about an energy strategy and the green agenda, which in construction we subscribe directly to. And they talk about apprenticeships, which we also subscribe directly to. And the point that Claire made so passionately is we do that in terms of value for money more cost effectively than any other provider. And, you know, the department's always talking about value for money. Well, take a look at the ULF projects. They are value for money. The other part that's very important too is the advice and guidance role that we have, because we interface with members in workplaces day in, day out, advising them and guiding them, not just in terms of redundancy, but in terms of other learning paths, which will help them to engage and also help them to get full-time employment or some sort of employment, depending on what it is. So what I would say is that the biggest drawback to me as a project manager is the nature of the short-term funding, because we don't know, we're sitting now in March not knowing or not having anything signed off in terms of next year. And you know, you can't plan either in the short term the medium term or the long term unless you have that security of knowing that the project will continue. So the yearly turnaround in terms of will we, won't we, has to stop, and we have to meaningfully plan going forward, both individually and collectively as project managers, and create a strategy which is meaningful and which is possible. And I would urge both Nick Ictu, and I know Julie will, and the department to sit down with us and engage and allow us to plan better, because better planning means better outcomes. Any business, and in one sense, this is a business, any business needs long-term planning. So I urge the department to sit down and talk to us directly. And Claire also talked about funding. What I can do in my project is extremely limited due to lack of funding. And I know everybody cries about funding, but I'm not actually sure if the money that we get today is any different than we got 15 years ago. So really, come on, folks, let's take a serious look at what we've achieved with very little and what we could achieve with a long-term strategy for improving the skills and the skills agenda in Northern Ireland. Thank you all very much for listening. And lastly, I just want to acknowledge Julie's role. She's always there for help and support and guidance. And I do pick up the phone even when times are sad and I shouldn't. But thank you, Julie, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Kieran. It was great. And again, I agree 100% with everything that you say. The restriction on one-year budgets is very, very difficult. Over the past number of years, we've always taken a 3-year application from projects, but can only look at funding year on year. This is something that really needs to be addressed, and with the possibility of the new assembly elections, the new government, maybe this is the time that they will look at multi-year budgets. Moving on, our next speaker from our representative from one of our teaching unions is Noel O'Donnell, and you're very welcome, Noel. So I hand over to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, as Julie said there, we are a teachers union, and initially we didn't get involved with union learning because teaching is a graduate profession, and our understanding was that initially it was focusing on essential skills, which were not something that was needed by teachers. So it took a bit of convincing by Julie, I have to say, for INTO and myself as project manager to get on board. But it was only as I think it was Dave mentioned earlier, when I was actually looking back over for today over what we have actually done in the short period, because we are one of the newer unions involved over that period, what we have actually done. And it's actually not just reminded me, but also inspired me to maybe do more of it going forward as well. So it's been a useful exercise. And one of the things we did do was actually one of the earliest projects, I suppose we did, was looking at iPad training for teachers, because the last training on ICT across the system for teachers was in 2000. Now the ICT in 2000 and ICT now in the last couple of years, they're totally different, and they're teaching children who know more about it than any of the teachers actually who are teaching them. So this was actually, iPads were being introduced to classrooms, and teachers were getting maybe an hour of all the teachers in the school being told this is how you use them, and some of them were not familiar at all. So we developed a program with CERC through Union Learning Fund, and delivered, we did a couple of courses actually, a beginner one and a more advanced one for those who were more familiar but still wanted to know how to use it within their job, because that training is just not there, which is ridiculous. But it's something that we're now looking at going forward again, because as you know, during COVID, teachers were doing remote learning, again, had no training for this and had to upskill themselves. So we're looking at helping them to develop that going forward as well. So that was one of the initial successes, I suppose, we had. And then Julie had mentioned, you know, in relation to union learning reps, we struggled with this as well, because schools are very individual entities, and some can be very small to 2 teachers, and others then can be very, very big with huge secondary schools. So we've actually now developed what we are calling career learning reps, because there was confusion as well. They thought a union learning rep was somebody who actually was doing the type of trade union training for trade union reps, etc., as opposed to what it actually was. So we now have our next cohort ready to be trained, and they will be working across all our branches in Northern Ireland and with our districts in relation to looking at what the training needs of teachers are, and not just training, but it is, as I think as Kieran has said too, about advice and guidance. And again, that's not available. And it seems strange that I suppose for the teaching profession that so many things seem to be absent, but they are. And it's what we have learnt is actually that, as has been outlined by my colleagues here, is that the union is where they turn to for advice and guidance, not just on their industrial relations and employment rights, but also in relation to their careers and how they can change career or how they can develop within their career, which again is something that has just disappeared from teaching over the years. So one of the other big successes we had was a mid-career workshop in 2019. We were oversubscribed. I couldn't believe it. It was a Saturday morning, which is not, again, usually where we would get teachers volunteering to come to, but it was very oversubscribed. In the end, we had 70 teachers there who were looking at different aspects, whether it was developing their careers, whether it was actually exiting their careers, and what they would do post-career in teaching, because many are saying it's too long to work to their 67 as a teacher. But it's not that they necessarily want to give up work. So we need to be looking at alternatives for them there, and for the economy as well. It is something we do have to look at. So that was very successful. And we are looking at having now we were meant to have one in 2020, which obviously didn't happen due to COVID. So the next one is due now to be held after Easter, because it does need to be done face to face really to get the value from it. Because one of the aspects there as well was through the TUC. We as project managers were trained in the Value My Skills, which was a very useful tool. And during lockdown last year, the TUC tutor, before union learning was pulled in England, did an online training for us on Value My Skills. And we had 30 teachers take part in that. Now, it didn't work as well as the face-to-face. You need to be able to talk to people. But having said that, it still helped them to look at what their skills are, because again, people don't think the teachers maybe are lacking confidence or don't understand what their skills, but they think they have one skill set and that's it. So it very much helped that, and we will be looking at that going forward as well. I think one of the other things I would like to say is that the flexibility in courses within the tutors within ICTU and with CERC, this is where you can actually customize courses that actually suit the members that you are dealing with, because it's not something that you can take off a shelf. It's not something that applies to all workers across all sectors. And that's something that we really appreciate, because we have certain limitations in what we can provide as a union, but to actually be able to have that flexibility to sit down with tutors through the union learning and actually work out what it is that will work best for our members is a huge positive, and is something that needs to be developed going forward as well. And I do think, and I suppose, and this is where I'm going to maybe get a bit political here in relation to the unaccredited courses. I don't believe every course has to be accredited, and that's coming from a teacher myself, because people learn. They don't have to have a certificate at the end of it to prove that they have actually learned something. And I think that focus on having to have accreditation is actually prohibiting a lot of courses and skills that people could be developing, and actually could be prohibiting people from actually doing those kinds of things because they feel they have to do an accreditation at the end of it. So my appeal would definitely, as well as everybody else here in relation to the funding, etc. for this, but to look at the focus on accreditation too. So I'll get off my soapbox now, and again, just to say a huge thank you to Julie, because I think I do torture her every time I'm putting in my report, and she really does sort me out. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Noel. We're not going to talk about reports today. Yes, I would also like to echo that. Non-accredited learning became an issue quite a while back, and we all remember what happened, but not to go over it too much, but look at what could be done. The key thing about non-accredited learning is that the projects were doing that either for free or for very little money. Like, it was pittance. When we looked at it and reviewed it, it was less than £4,000 that particular year it was questioned. We have been innovative in our approaches to sourcing free unaccredited learning, and we were especially good at that during lockdown. And it increased our numbers by thousands because unions created their own websites with opening up access to members to complete short online courses. We also looked at the likes of Future Learn and Open Learn that wasn't going to use our funding, but still keep people learning. And where we couldn't get an accredited option, we will always look for an unaccredited option because we're not going to leave anyone behind. And often what we find, and this is the most important thing, what I find with the learner that doesn't want to go back into the classroom, the hook of unaccredited learning or something soft or something easy to get them sort of back into the way of learning is one of our best ways of engaging learners. So for me, it's something that needs to continue. Those numbers maybe aren't necessarily reported anymore, but they're still happening. So if you looked at the amount of non-accredited learning we do, it's probably much more than what is actually going through. Okay, I'm off my soapbox now. So our next our next speaker, our next project worker is Adrian McMiniman from Aegis the Union. So Adrian, I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Really, it's good to see so many familiar faces. Well, we have met up for quite a while now around the table, drinking our tea and eating our biscuits. But for those who don't know you, my name's Adrian McMiniman. I'm the project manager for Aegis the Union. And we've been part of the funding since 2015, which was surprised at. 7 years have really flown by. Aegis is a union that works in the finance sector in the north, Scotland, and in England. In the north, we predominantly work with a company called Computershare, which is a large mortgage outsourcer. We have recently just entered the lending market themselves now. When people hear of the finance sector, they usually think high-paid jobs. However, for the majority of our members and the majority of employees in the finance sector, this is really not the case. Although these jobs are often very complex and highly regulated, where the employees could ultimately end up in court personally themselves if they make the wrong decision. These jobs are largely low paid and in many cases are just minimum wage or just above. Since Aegis has joined the Union Learn Fund, our goal has been to give those people a step up and a helping hand. Like the rest of the project as well, you know, to give them every chance of moving up the career ladder, increasing their chances of social mobility, be that in their current workplace or via promotion into the wider economy. Since we launched in 2015, we have built relationships in the local community and leveraged these links to provide some community outreach programs and also promote the trade union movement to audiences that may not have been involved in the trade union movement before. Since 2015, we have delivered and signposted learners to thousands of courses ranging from essential skills, mental health, Excel and databases, project management, CMAP, equity release, apprentices, finance, just to name but a few. Off the back of this, we've had many successes with members moving on to pastures new both internally and externally with their newly gained skills, which not only benefits them but also their families and local communities. One such example of this is a couple of years ago, we leveraged the excellent results from the Union Learn Fund to get an additional £20,000 from the company to invest in CMAP, which is the mortgage advice qualification. From this, we had over 15 members who gained this professional qualification that allows them to provide mortgage advice. All but 3 of these have now moved on to new employment and higher paid jobs, and we're confident it will be long. The other 3 move also, be that internally or into the wider community as well. These members would not have been able to do this if it hadn't been for the Union Learn Fund, because they have been on a lower paid kind of job. They wouldn't be able to afford the court fees. The Department of the Economy has deemed the finance sector in the north as an area of strategic importance. So our plans to align ourselves with that strategy and help deliver those objectives. We've already seen some successful delivery of this through the outworking of the apprenticeship schemes delivered via Global Horizon Skills. I know Catherine's on the call there. Brilliant work for the last number of years. And a special thanks to Fiona, our Union Learn rep, who manages along with Catherine from Global as well, and we're keen to build on this going forward. Almost finally, I'd like to say a big thanks again to Julie and the other unions. As everybody has kind of touched on, it is a combined effort where everybody shares ideas and contacts, and without this combined effort, it wouldn't be the success it is today. And finally, I would like to give a big thanks to the ULRs who are on the ground interacting with members directly. Without them, the Union Learning Fund wouldn't be the success it is today. And I'm hoping that we can many more successful years of Union Learning Fund pen good news for the department as well.
Thank you, Adrian. Hopefully a little bit sooner rather than later, I'll get down to Derry to visit you again face to face. It's great to see as well. We've got Brian Lynn on, the Aegis General Secretary this morning, so it's great to have Brian joining us. A small project, but with huge outcomes. In particular, I'd like to give Gareth Moore a little mention. Gareth won Union Learning Rep of the Year. And when he won that, he gave a speech. Oh, is Gareth on? He gave a speech, and that speech sort of goes down in history as one of the most emotional, emotive, and just fantastic speeches that we heard at a Union Learning Conference. He was an absolute testament to how and why Union Learning works, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Gareth is an active ULR along with the rest of the team in Aegis, and it's been great working with them the past few years. So our next person who needs no introduction usually to this room is Roisin Graham from NIPSA. And Roisin, as she does a little bit of a double job. Roisin is our Union Learn project manager for NIPSA, but she is also a trade union tutor employed by CERC. And she is the main face who all our union learning reps will see when they first go in to their training. Sometimes they see me too, but she's our main one. So Roisin, you're very welcome and look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, thanks, Julie, and thanks for the introduction too. Yeah, as you say, double job and double role that I have in all of this, and I'm very proud to be able to see so many of my proteges that I've trained along the years on the course or on the conference call today as well. Delighted to see it because they're like my babies, and seeing them flourish and seeing them do so well is just brilliant. Project managers, again, I give praise to as well, because as we've already alluded to, we work very well together. And one of the project managers that I have worked with that I will make special mention to, because I see him on the call today as well, is Brian Mcgay, also known as my work husband. I seen more of Brian as I had of my own husband, because Brian and I worked very well at the start of our project. When NIPSA joined the Union Learning Fund, again, we were late to the game, a couple of years late. And when I first started, even muting the idea of NIPSA being involved in union learning, it was a bit like NULA. We were told, but sure, people are at a certain level, they won't need essential skills. Well, we proved them wrong, because we knew there were people in the workplace that don't have those essential skills for everyday life. And when it came on board that ICT was identified as one of the essential skills, it flourished then for us, obviously in the civil service. I was looking back, 2009, we signed a learning agreement with civil service, and that's where our journey really began and started. Half of our membership is civil service, and then we used that as a sounding board then to move on to other employers. One of the best, I suppose, examples of the good work that we've done is the collaborative work between departments even, and getting them to think outside the box. And that the way that we as project managers work and unions work together to get those numbers to run a course, we also pitched that idea to the civil service, and they hadn't thought of that before. So we had other departments working with each other to get courses up and running and get learners through. one of the big testament that we'd found from that, because there was a review done on it, and the department found that it was actually line managers were noticing the difference in their employees. They were noticing the confidence that those courses give them. And I know Noel has attested to the fact of, you know, non-accredited courses, confidence, and giving people that ability and that journey, starting them on their learning journey, doesn't necessarily start off with a piece of paper and a qualification. You have to take each individual as they come and each learner as they come. We all learn differently. We all work differently. We all have had different experiences. And I think that's I suppose the beauty of the Union Learn project is we have the learner at the heart of all of that and take their circumstances and be able to deliver for them. But I did learn a lot from Brian Mcgay, PCS, our sister union. When we joined the project, it was Brian and ourselves that wrote the proposal for going forward. And I learned a lot from Brian, given that PCS were very active in across the water and here as well. So when the two projects merged together and we went forward, we actually flourished. And I was very sad to see the PCS. Obviously, Brian had to step back from that, so it left me. And I missed Brian, I have to say, because we've worked very, very well together. So I do want to thank you very much, Brian, for giving me the experience and I suppose the passion for union learning. The other success story, I would say, because Claire and Kieran and all have touched on it as well, is union learning touches everybody's working life in some way or another. We've had members who have went through restructuring, and we've said, look, you need to invest in those people, the people that you have, loyal employees. And one of the big success stories has been through one of our councils, ABC Council, Armagh, Banbridge and Craigavon, where they were going through the possibility of leisure services being outsourced and privatised. The union learning reps at the time, which is Dwyer, another union learning rep of the year as well, Dwyer had set up a programme, and now they have a pathway to enhance the skills and knowledge that their own staff have, and in fact stop the privatisation of those leisure services being outsourced. So I think that's a fantastic story of how union learn and the negotiating part can come hand in hand together, and to, you know, enhance the skills of already dedicated staff that you have. I know that Dave Flanagan and ourselves are looking to try and replicate that within other councils, and we're currently working with one of council in particular, Ards and North Down, to try and replicate that type of model as well. And I know that other councils are looking to it as well. So we're proud of the work that we've done. Another, I suppose, success story in relation to Union Learn is, I've lost my train of thought. It was in relation to, I suppose, working with other unions and taking away that, I suppose, that's stigma, where, you know, we all have our own agendas within our unions, but Union Learn works very, very well, and we do work collaboratively with other unions in the workplace, and that's where our strength comes from. I can't think of anything else I want to say. I want to say thank you to Julie and to the other project managers, because it's been a pleasure working with you, and thanks for all your hard work and dedication, and roll on the next 20 years. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Roisin. And one thing I wanted to say is, with COVID over the past sort of 2 years, we haven't been able to get union learning reps in the room to get them trained. So it was brilliant to talk to the new class of union learning reps that Roisin was tutoring a couple of weeks ago. So it's great that we've got 13 new reps that are being trained, and we're looking after the impact of COVID to start building up our bank of union learning reps again. So anyone that hasn't done the training, or anyone that knows anybody that wants to do the training, send them our way and we will get them trained and linked into the different projects. Okay, our next speaker, project manager, is going to be Noel Mullen from the Bakers Union. And I'm delighted joining him on the call today is Laura Graham and also Sarah. So it's great to see great support from the Bakers Union here today. So Noel, I'll hand over to you. Take it away. Noel, you're on mute. Sorry.
How's that now? Is that all right now? As Judy says there, I work for the Bakers Food and Allied Workers Union, which has members in England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. The project over the years has worked on with other projects in the different regions, and I've attended quarterly meetings in England to give reports on what's happened. In Northern Ireland, the sector which the union works for is the food industry, the retail and the pharmaceutical. The project has worked with Irwin's Bakery, the largest independent family-owned bakery, Hovis and Allied Bakery, which are both national bakeries, Hall House, My Park, and also 5 different community groups. The companies see that the project both helps the company and the employees by upskilling all the students that sign up for courses. The courses are available to both union members and non-union members. Working with the project is not as confrontational as working with the union on the industrial side, and this helps the project. During the time of the project, the BFW has allowed learning to take place on both sites from the start to this present day. My Park has been a stable source of recruitment, but because of the COVID-19 period, workers have been hard to get to replace those off sick, and training had to stop. There was a learning centre set up on this site also. In Irwin's Bakery, they allowed training to take place both on-site, off-site and over Zoom, and there's a learning centre there also. Also, there was a learning centre opened a few years back in Hovis. This is opened by the end of the department, Stephen Farley. The project also started working with community groups, and this allowed the students to upskill and get qualifications to apply for better jobs, and also use the computer if they'd never used one before. And when the course was finished, they were able to use it for banking, paying bills, shopping, and communicating with family members. The BFAW joined the project in November 2007 with the project manager at the time, Laura Graham, who has now moved on to be a full-time regional officer. In July 2013, I was seconded and started to work with the project, and Laura has been assistance from that there, and I'm grateful. The project has been involved in recruiting students to sign up for various courses provided by the project. There have been over 2,000 involved from this time. These courses were delivered by the college and other providers. The students attended open days in their workplaces or the community centres to sign up for these courses. These events were held both day and night. There's a large number of students have they've done ESOL classes, ACT classes, literacy and numeracy, Excel classes, food hygiene, manual handling, forklift, first aid, security door license, disciplinary and grievance. During the life of the project, there's been a few successes or highlights, would you say? One is one of the students started off with ESOL, completed all the ESOL, went on to do the essential skills, numeracy and literacy, and the IT classes. After completing all these courses, she was then able to go on and be an interpreter, and has now since left the company and is doing interpreting for all different companies throughout Northern Ireland. There's also another student that took the same pathway and ended up going back home to the country he came from, and is now a manager of his local airport. And both said that without the help of the project, they would not have been able to do this here. The project has been, learners have been recognised by ICTU and a union also by awards. Going forward, the project would hope that the department would make ESOL free to all. This would allow workers from all parts of the world where English is not their first language to learn English. This would then allow them to sign up for essential skills. If this was allowed, then communication within the workplace and the community would be far better. The department would also need to look at non-accredited classes, because this is a pathway for new learners to come on board, and then also give them the confidence to go ahead and sign up for accredited courses. The project will aim to provide upskilling throughout in future, because during the COVID-19, it came to light that the workers had not the skills to cover the people that was off sick. This in incoming years, the last year, a 3-year bid, and the time frame will need to be longer. Should would. And just to finish, I would like to thank Julie and the Ictu for all the help and assistance they give the BFAW project. That's me finished.
Thanks very much, Noel. The Bakers Union, especially within the likes of WD Irwin's and Moy Park, have been instrumental in not only recruiting, but also enabling migrant workers to maybe get their first step onto the learning ladder. A lot of them, the process in which they've done that, which has been inspirational, they've put them through their ESOL first, and they've got that hunger to go on and want to do better. And then we've put them onto essential skills. And this way of working, this sort of programme has been brilliant, not only in Irwin's and Moy Park, but in other companies that the Bakers Union have worked for. So definitely the social cohesion and the enabling of migrant workers or migrant worker population to be able to take those first steps back into learning and to be part of our economy, our successful economy in Northern Ireland, is really, really important work. Finally, and by no means least, is our final speaker today, and that's Lorna Morton from the Union USTA. So Lorna, you're very welcome, and I'll hand over to you.
Thanks very much, Julie. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here celebrating the 20 years of the Union Learning Fund in Northern Ireland. The USTA NI-ULF project has been going since July 2007, when USTA first signed a lifelong learning agreement in Northern Ireland with Grampian Country Pork and Cookstown, now known as Carroll Food Group. Back then, I was an employee and just finished my training with 3 others as shop stewards. All 4 became union learning reps, where I had taken the lead role. In September 2008, USTA seconded me to become a mobile union learning rep and later project worker, a role which I have been delivering along with supporting union learning reps, our members and community for nearly 14 years this September. Our Union Learn project works mainly in the sectors of retail, where we have our largest portion of membership, but also work with distribution and other food and drink companies such as Dale Farm and Coca-Cola. Over the last 15 years of our project, USTA has secured a national lifelong learning agreement with Tesco, our largest employer in the retail sector, and local agreements with Asda and Sainsbury's stores, as well as an enhanced agreement with Carroll Food Group in 2017, celebrating our 10 years of learning at the site. Our union learning reps have been an enormous help and support to their colleagues over the years to help them achieve qualifications they never thought possible. Even through the last 2 years of the COVID pandemic, they have been advocating courses through social media and arranging online courses. Our NI-ULF project has had an increased number of learners year on year, with an approximate total amount of 1,240 essential skills learners, accredited learners 1,573, with an informal and CPD learners 2,183 over the last 15 years. Pre-pandemic, our project mainly focuses on essential skills, maths, English and ICT, with other accredited courses that we have been delivering, fully funded from our projects such as the Signature British Sign Language Level 1 and ESOL courses. We also helped individuals with subsidising learners attending courses in their local college. We also offer informal learning through our USTA online gateway, with thousands of courses on offer, and recently have worked with the Royal Literary Fund in facilitating 4-week workshops in life writing. Over the last few years, we have been delivering fully funded CMI Level 2 in team leading, Level 3 project management, Level 3 coaching and mentoring with all with Jenny McConnell from the SCRC. And these were classroom-based courses, but through COVID there, we went on to online learning. With the pandemic, we had seen an increase of mental health illness amongst our membership, and wanting to support our reps, members and community, the demand for mental health courses was prominent. So we had the ICTU delivering OCN Level 2 mental health and the workplace, along with Edward Hanna, who I see here today, from Utopian Learning, delivering online OCN Level 1 mental health, wellbeing and building resilience, with an altogether total of 115 learners. Some learners then went on to do the OCN Level 1 counselling and OCN Level 1 in confidence, self-esteem and mindfulness courses. We also have been promoting the Skill Up programme to our members who have registered in various courses relating to health and social care, childcare, leadership and management, and digital skills. Just want to thank John Houston from the NWRC, Joanne Lucas from the SWC, BMC Kevin Lavery, and Magella Quinn, who all have contributed to ULSTA's project over the years. Also Gillian Belch, Kevin Lavery, who supported our projects in the early years, and later with Julie, who has kept us all in the right path with our projects. Thanks to DFE for its continuing funding of the Union Learning Fund, and not forgetting the other Union Learn project workers that we are so lucky to work together to deliver to our members. What can I say about what has made this project a success and the highlights? It is the ULRs and the learners who have given their time to create a positive message to their colleagues that you never are too old to learn. We have had 6 ULRs who have received awards over the years. The first was Francis Macaulay in 2011, a Dell Essential Skills Award, Trade Union category, receiving a highly commended certificate. Jennifer Gracie, 2015, overall Dell Trade Union Learner, who also got an award from SRC and invited to Radio Ulster. Pauline Hunter in 2016, ICTU Learner of the Year. Fiona Robinson, ICTU 2017 ULR of the Year. Ulia Pavel, ICTU 2019 ULR of the Year. In 2016, OU Trade Union Learners Awards went to ULR Gary Monteith. After completing business courses, opened his own cafe on the Craiga Road called Blethers. Learner Gemma Smays, who after completing short OU medical courses went on to university to do nursing. In 2013, Dell Essential Skills, the overall winner and highly commended in the trade union category, were learners Geraldine McKinney and William Webb. Jamie Doherty was our 2019 ICTU Learner of the Year. And lastly, Sharon Brazier in 2020 was the ICTU Learner of the Year. But it is not all about winning awards. It is the thank you cards, emails and texts that our project receives from learners that keeps this project driven to deliver courses that they want and to give them the help, support and advice to their members and wider community for them to excel in their learning journey to reach new heights. We have for the future seen a new opportunity for online learning and distance learning due to the pandemic, and will continue offering courses along with colleges, Utopian Learning and the Skills Network. Our project will also continue to offer classroom courses offered by the colleges. And I will end off there, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lorna. I have to say that brings this session to a close, and I'm very proud of all the work that our projects have done and will continue to do. The list of learner awards there is fantastic, and it really does show how well our learners do with the support of this fund. So it's brilliant, and may this hard work continue. We're just running very close to our closing time, so we don't have any time for questions. If anyone does want to send any questions, they can anyone can send them to my email and I can direct them out to either the project managers, or if I can answer them on your behalf, I'm very happy to do so. This conference has been a fantastic celebration of the work of the past 20 years. And let us go forward and make it go for 20 years and more, and even further. Our work on learning showcases the trade union movement at its best. And I will always say that. I think I finish the conference every year by saying that, you know, it really does. It's the trade union movement at its best. And through our work, we reach out to those that are most in need, regardless of class, age, gender, ability, or background. Some we reach out to have qualifications, but need to reskill. Some of them don't have any qualifications. Sometimes they're let down by their previous education from an under-resourced education system, or they just didn't get on well at school. We've helped people facing redundancy. We've helped people in their hours of need. We've offered information and advice and guidance to all. Our work is firmly focused on the future, and it's helping to make our economy stronger and more productive. Our work transforms lives and makes working lives better. I want to thank everyone that came and joined us today. We had project managers from right back in the beginning, and it was good to see your faces on this call. I'd like to thank our representatives from DFE for joining us, our representatives from our colleges, and also our training providers. It was great to see us all on here today, and thank you very much to everyone that attended, our speakers, Owen, and also all our project managers. Keep up the good work, and let's continue on with what we're doing best. Thanks.